NFC South. And in that division, at the fourth spot, this is a team who I believe will have the worst record or tied for the worst record in the entire NFC, and it is not named the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, wow.
Can you tell me what the New Orleans Saints are? Because I have no idea what they are. I don't know what their identity is. To me, ever since Drew Brees retired, the team's gone back to being the Aints. Dennis Allen is one of the worst head coaches in the history of the National Football League. Alvin Kamara has not looked the same. Chris Olave is a nice wide receiver. To me, that's pretty much all they have on offense. I like their defense. DeMario Davis, Chase Young, who they brought over from San Francisco, Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore. But to me, it's not going to matter much when you can't move the football. And I think this team just needs to blow it up. I would start Spencer Rattler week 1. I thought he was better than what people thought coming out of South Carolina. He had some character issues. To me, Derek Carr looked like trash. And I defended Derek Carr for years when he was in Vegas, and he dealt with nothing but bullshit. And he looked like a quarterback that a lot of people said he was in Vegas last year in New Orleans. I don't know what the Saints are. I have no freaking clue. So that's why I have them at 4th, 3-14. I don't know what their identity is at all.
Let me just comment on that before you continue. Super quick. Because I was high on Derek Carr coming out of Fresno State. I wanted the Browns to draft him. And you're right. When he was with the Raiders in Oakland and now Las Vegas, he looked like a quarterback that you're like, okay, you can build the franchise around him. That's why Devontae Adams wanted to go into the Raiders in the first place. And now I'm just like, Derek Carr, who are you? I don't recognize this version of you. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on that. So continue.
No, that's fine. That leads me to the 3rd place team. At 5-12, I have the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they're going to be as garbage as they were a year ago. I am wiping the slate completely clean with this team because I think nobody could win in that situation last year, not even Patrick Mahomes. I like Dave Canales. I like what he did with Baker Mayfield. He was also a part of the Geno Smith Reclamation Project in Seattle. They added Deontay Johnson at wide receiver. They still have a pretty good defense, even though they did lose Brian Burns. They also went out and they acquired Xavier Legette out of Ole Miss, who has been compared actually to A.J. Brown.
And you know who the Panthers traded with to get him? Let me think. A team that needed a wide receiver. The Buffalo Bills.
Yes. So the defense led by Phil Snow. Again, I think they'll still be good. I think Bryce Young will be better. I think they have a little bit better weapons. You know, I just think they're going to be better than what they were a year ago. I don't think they're going to be great, but I at least think they can be better than the Saints. How about that?
I'm rooting for Bryce Young. I know, like, at a lot of the season last year, I said, like, I didn't think he was great, but I want Bryce Young to succeed with the Panthers. Like, it'd be nice for the Panthers to turn it around.
In 2nd place at 9-8, just missing the postseason after winning the division a year ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like this team. They pretty much brought everybody back. I just don't think they made any real upgrades, and I think the other team in the division made more significant upgrades. I also don't know how the loss of Dave Canales will affect Baker Mayfield. Again, I think they'll still be good. They may take a slight hitch back.
Okay.
That leads to what I believe will be the new NFC South champion, the Atlanta Falcons, who I will say this right here and right now. They will start 0-3, and they will win this division.
I mean, it's the NFC South. It's been Mount Garbage for the past few seasons, so that would not surprise me in the slightest.
So here's the thing. Their first 3 games versus Pittsburgh. We already talked about we feel like that could be a coin toss game. At Philly's going to be very tough, and obviously home against Kansas City, very tough. Like I said, they could start 0-3. After that, it's pretty much nothing but cupcakes. Dallas may be the hardest team left on that schedule. And Kirk Cousins coming back. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are passionate about Michael Penix. You know how I feel about that. I don't know how good Kirk Cousins is going to be coming off that torn Achilles. Is there a world out there where Cousins struggles and Michael Penix comes in early in the season and lights it up? Yes, I do think there is a case to be had. But I think that now Zach Robinson, who comes from the Sean McVay tree, comes from the Kevin O'Connell tree, where Kirk Cousins was at Minnesota, that's a very tight end and running back friendly tree, which is why a lot of people are making fun of Kyle Pitts. I actually think Kyle Pitts is a big year this year because Kirk Cousins loves his tight ends. And I think Bijan Robinson has a bounce back year. And with the additions they have made recently with Justin Simmons at safety to go with Matthew Judon at linebacker / pass rusher, Atlanta is pretty much going all in. They made the most upgrades in the division. At 10-7, they are your NFC South champions.
So my biggest question with Atlanta, outside of Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, who are their other skill position players that they can really go to?
Well, you have Drake London, and they brought on Rondale Moore from Arizona at speedster.
Okay,
they have Algier as well out of the backfield to back up Bijan.
Sure, and maybe this is just the Arthur Smith residue, but I don't know what I'm gonna get out of Drake London, and again, that could be because of the Arthur Smith residue. And like you said, Atlanta has a new offensive system, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But anyway, we don't have too much different. The only couple things I would say are I have Carolina finishing in last, but just barely behind the Saints. Behind the Saints, because I have the Panthers going 4-13 and the Saints going just a little bit better at 5-12. I think Dave Canales will help Bryce Young take a step forward. I just think the Panthers are still a very young team. Yes, they brought in Deontay Johnson, but now that they lost Brian Burns to the New York Giants, kind of like the Tennessee Titans, I'm like, I don't know anybody on the Panthers defense. So I just think this team is so young. I'm like, they'll take it. They might win a couple more games, but I don't think it'll be anything drastic. And then kind of similar to what you were saying about the Saints, I have them going 5-12. I like their defense a little bit more than you do. Not too much, though. And then I'm just like, again, like I was saying when you were talking about the Saints, I'm like, Derek Carr, what happened to you? You were so promising coming out of Fresno State. I really liked him with the Raiders, as I said. And now he's come to the Saints, and I'm like, huh? So, yeah, I have the Saints. And then maybe it's because of the Arthur Smith syndrome, and I just don't know with Raheem Morris. But I have the Atlanta Falcons finishing second. I do think they make the playoffs, so I agree with you there. I've got them going 10-7. But again, it might be the Arthur Smith syndrome or residue there. And even though they lost Dave Canales to the Carolina Panthers, I liked how they finished the season. They pushed the Detroit Lions right to the limit in the divisional round.
They arguably should have won that game.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite games of the playoffs last season. Both Lions home games against the Rams and the Buccaneers. But I've got Tampa Bay winning the division, getting the number 4 seed in the NFC. I'll go 11-6.
I should have said I also have the NFC South winner Atlanta getting the number 4 seed. As we move to the rest of the divisions, just to note, the 3 division winners I have in the NFC North, West, and East all have the same record. So that's a little spoiler for you. I'm sorry, but that is where we stand on that. We are going to head now to the NFC West. Josh,
I love this division. This is going to.
this. All right, I'll let you start. Go ahead.
Okay. I think this could be one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. Think about it. You've got the 49ers there. You've got the LA Rams. I really am high on the LA Rams. You'll see in a minute. I really like the Seattle Seahawks. And Arizona's going to be, I think Arizona could be a more dangerous team than people think. So I'll go first. Yes, I have Arizona finishing last in this division, but I've got them going 7-10. And you know what? They could give some teams down the stretch a few scares. Because Jonathan Gannon, we've seen it. He somehow pulled a win against Dallas out of his ass last season. And then what happened? He went into Philadelphia and beat your Eagles.
Do you see this pencil? This pencil is no longer coaching my defense.
But still, the Cardinals did do that, and they drafted Paris Johnson a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name, to beef up their
Correct.
offensive line. I like Kyler Murray. I don't know if there's a new Call of Duty game, so that could affect Kyler Murray's play or not. But there's just something about Arizona. They seem like they're going to be a frisky team this season. So they're not going to be a playoff team, but I think they'll give people a few scares down the stretch. They're not going to be a team you want to play late in the season. In third place, also just missing the playoffs at 9-8, led by Mike McDonald, their new head coach, and Geno Smith, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kenneth Walker. I saw them play in person last year against the Browns, the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see how they do without Pete Carroll, because he's been a stable force as their head coach for a long time, guided them to 2 Super Bowls, should have won both if they had just run the ball on the damn 1-yard line, but freaking well. But, you still I love what they have offensively with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and like I said, Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think their defense is going to be much improved with Mike McDonald as their head coach. But I just think some of the other teams in the NFC are a little bit better, and that's what keeps them out of the playoffs. In second place and getting the 5th seed as a wild card team, they just won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers. I know they lost Aaron Donald, but I'm not dismissing the Los Angeles Rams that easily. No way. As much as I hate Stan Kroenke because he screwed over the city of St. Louis, which I wish the Rams were having this type of success in Missouri, but nonetheless, I think the Rams are going to get the 5 seed, and they are not going to be a team you want to play in the playoffs. And in first place, getting the number 2 seed in the overall NFC at 12-5, I've got the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, by the way, I have the Rams going just 1 loss worse than them at 11-6.
Okay, we're pretty similar. However, my fourth place team is the team that me and you have maybe debated about more than maybe any other team in the league. Now, we've debated a lot in the NFC. I think the NFC is a lot harder to predict than the AFC.
Yes.
In fourth, I have the new man, Mike McDonald, and the Seattle Seahawks. I have them at 7-10. Now, Seattle, I agree with you. I love their weapons. You mentioned them, right? DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. You know, though, how I feel about the quarterback position in Seattle. And I just think they have the worst quarterback in the division. I would not take Geno over Kyler Murray right now. I would not take him over Matthew Stafford, and I would not take him over Brock Purdy. And their defense, outside of their young corners, they have Tariq Woolen, they have Devon Witherspoon. To me, it's a complete rebuild. And again, could Mike McDonald rebuild this defense in a year like he did with the Baltimore Ravens? He could, but I think this is a very hard division, and I think Seattle just comes in fourth at 7-10.
I can totally understand what you're saying.
In third, a game better. And by the way, I was back and forth. Do I do Seattle? Do I do Arizona? I'm going to put Arizona at 8-9.
Okay.
And
so I think we agree on the record there with Arizona.
We agree that Arizona, I think you said 7-10. I'm giving them 8. So pretty even. We agree they're going to be more competitive. I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to change life out there in the desert for Kyler Murray the way DeAndre Hopkins did for him in 2020. And
I think, again, it depends on whether Call of Duty is a good game or not.
And you're right. I watched Arizona going to Philly, and that game still scars my soul. Thinking about Jonathan Gannon and the way he left Philadelphia to come in there in the middle of our collapse and do that to us in our house on New Year's Eve still kills me to this day. So Arizona, I think, is going to be better. They were tied with the Packers and their division rival Rams for the most draft picks in the NFL. And most of those were on the defensive side of the ball. I think Gannon's going to get that defense better throughout the season. A lot like McDonald will. Again, I think it just comes down to, I think Kyler's worth one more than Geno at this point. The interesting thing about Arizona, I'll say this real quick as well, Josh. If you remember last year, before Kyler came back, they were in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And they decided, instead of tanking and trading away Kyler Murray and starting over for either Caleb or Jaden Daniels, they were going to keep Kyler Murray. They won games, and they still got the number 4 pick in the draft, and they got rewarded for it, arguably, if Kyler and Harrison turn out.
Yeah. I agree there.
Now, with the number 2 team in the division, I have this team at 10-7, a game worse than you. I have them as well, though, in the playoffs. I have them as the number 6 seed, the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
I think, again, I doubted the Rams last year because outside of Aaron Donald, who did they have in their defense? I couldn't name one person. But Raheem Morris did turn that defense around. Now, he's no longer there. He's in Atlanta. And Matthew Stafford has to stay healthy, and Cooper Kupp has to stay healthy, and we know what Puka Nacua can bring. But yes, as long as you have Sean McVay calling the plays and those guys healthy, the Rams are going to win games. And then the number 1 team in the NFC West, I have them as the number 2 seed overall, or excuse me, number 3 seed in the NFC overall. At 12-5, the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Brandon Ayuk drama could be a little slow to start the season, maybe cost them a game or two. But after that, listen, we know the deal. It's SBOB. It's Super Bowl or bust. They literally have a Pro Bowler at every level on both sides of the ball. They're going to win a lot of games. I know there's some people that think they could regress a little bit enough to where the Rams could win the division, and I get that, but I just think they're going to want to take care of business as usual in the regular season, and as we've seen since they've gotten McCaffrey in the regular season, they're pretty unbeatable.
Yeah. my biggest thing with the 49ers is everybody's calling Brock Purdy a great quarterback. And I've even heard the term elite being thrown around with him. But my thing with Brock Purdy is, are you truly a great quarterback, or are you just a product of the skill position players around you and being in the Shanahan offense?
By the way, I know it's just preseason and it's vanilla defenses and it should not mean a thing. But did you see Brock Purdy out there with the ones without Trent Williams? Did not look good.
No. I'm Do you remember the game here in Cleveland?
Yes.
Yes, it was bad weather. But who was he without? He lost Trent Williams. He lost Christian McCaffrey. I believe he lost Debo, if I remember correctly. And he did not look like the same quarterback. So, again, that's my biggest question about Brock Purdy. Are you truly a great quarterback, or are you just a system quarterback that's benefiting from the skill position players around you?